Welcome to Book Bytes, the Azle Memorial Library's 2021 Summer Reading Book Buzz program. I'm Liz, the Adult Services Librarian, and this week I will be discussing the summer's newest and best up-and-coming historical fiction titles.
The New York Times best-selling author of The Book of Lost Names returns with an evocative coming-of-age World War II story about a young woman who uses her knowledge of the wilderness to help Jewish refugees escape the Nazis, until a secret from her past threatens everything. Published on July 6, The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Kristen Harmel has been reviewed by Booklist and Library Journal and has a 4.5 rating on Goodreads. Inspired by incredible true stories of survival against staggering odds, the book follows a young woman who, after being stolen from her wealthy German parents and raised in the unforgiving wilderness of Eastern Europe, finds herself alone in 1941 after her kidnapper dies. Her solitary existence is interrupted, however, when she happens upon a group of Jews fleeing the Nazi terror. Stunned to learn what's happening in the outside world, she vows to teach the group all she can about surviving in the forest, and in turn, they teach her some surprising lessons about opening her heart after years of isolation. But when she is betrayed and escapes into a German-occupied village, her past and present come together in a shocking collusion that could change everything. Next, we have Jewel of the Nile by best-selling author Tessa Afshar. Bringing to life the Kingdom of Kush in the Roman Empire, Afshar introduces readers to a fascinating world filled with gripping adventure, touching romance, and a host of lovable characters, including some they may recognize from the biblical book of Acts. Whispered secrets about her parents' past take on a new urgency for Caroline as she pays one last visit to the land of her forefathers, the ancient Kingdom of Kush. Raised as an orphan by her aunts, Caroline has only been told a few pieces of her parents' tragic love story. Her beautiful dark skin is proof that her father was Kushite, but she knows nothing else. When visiting her grandfather before his retirement as the Roman official in the Queen's court, Caroline overhears that her father is still alive, and discovering his identity becomes her obsession. Both her grandfather and the Queen have reasons for keeping the secret, however, and forbid her quest. So, when her only clues lead to Rome, Caroline sneaks on the ship of a merchant trusted by friends. Theo is shocked to discover a stowaway on board his vessel and determines to be rid of her as soon as possible. But drawn in by Caroline's story, he feels honor-bound to see her safely to shore, especially when it appears someone may be willing to kill for the truth she seeks. Out June 1st, this tale of historical fiction has a 4.8 on Goodreads with ongoing starred reviews from Publishers Weekly. Our next title was published June 6th and has a 4.2 rating on Goodreads with reviews by Library Journal and Publishers Weekly. Island Queen by Vanessa Riley is a novel based on the incredible true life story of Dorothy Kirwan Thomas, a free woman of color who rose from slavery to become one of the wealthiest and most powerful landowners in the colonial West Indies. Born into slavery on the tiny Caribbean island of Montserrat, Azle bought her freedom and that of her sister and mother from her Irish planter father and built a legacy of wealth and power as an entrepreneur, merchant, hotelier, and planter that extended from the marketplaces and sugar plantations of Dominica and Barbados to a glittering luxury hotel in South America. Vanessa Riley's novel brings Doll to life as she rises above the harsh realities of slavery and colonialism by working the system and leveraging the competing attentions of the men in her life. From the bustling port cities of the West Indies to the forbidding drawing rooms of London's elite, Island Queen is a sweeping epic of an adventurer and a survivor who answered to no one but herself as she rose to power and autonomy against all odds, defying rigid 18th century morality and the oppression of women as well as people of color. Next, from the author who brought us The Golden Hour, The Summer Wives, The Secret Life of Violet Grant, and 100 Summers, we have Our Woman in Moscow by Beatrice Williams. Published June 1st, Williams's new title has an ongoing star reviews by Library Journal and has a rating of 4.3 on Goodreads. This gripping and profoundly human story of Cold War espionage and family devotion begins in the autumn of 1948 when Iris Digby vanishes from her London home with her American diplomat husband and their 2 children. The world is shocked by the family's sensational disappearance. Were they eliminated by the Soviet intelligence service? Or have the Digsbys defected to Moscow with a trove of the West's most vital secrets? 4 years later, Ruth McAllister receives a postcard from the twin sisters she hasn't seen since their catastrophic parting in Rome in the summer of 1940. As war engulfed the continent, and Iris fell desperately in love with an enigmatic United States Embassy official named Sasha Digby. Within days, Ruth is on her way to Moscow, posing as the wife of counterintelligence agent Sumner Fox in a precarious plot to extract the Digsbys from behind the Iron Curtain. But the complex truth behind Iris's marriage defies Ruth's understanding, and as the sisters race towards safety, a dogged Soviet KGB officer forces them to make a heartbreaking choice between 2 irreconcilable loyalties. From the best-selling author of The Only Woman in the Room, The Mystery of Miss Christie, Carnegie's Maid, The Other Einstein, and Lady Clementine, comes The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict. Published on June 29th, this title explores the life of Belle DeCosta Green, J.P. Morgan's personal librarian. In her 20s, Belle DeCosta Green is hired by J.P. Morgan to curate a collection of rare manuscripts, books, and artwork for his newly built Pierpont Morgan Library. Belle becomes a fixture on the New York society scene and one of the most powerful people in the art and book world, known for her impeccable taste and shrewd negotiating for critical works as she helps build a world-class collection. But Belle has a secret, one she must protect at all costs. She was not born Belle DeCosta Green, but Belle Marion Grenier. She is the daughter of Richard Grenier, the first Black graduate of Harvard and a well-known advocate for equality. Belle's complexion isn't dark because of her alleged Portuguese heritage that lets her pass as white. Her complexion is dark because she is African American. The Personal Librarian tells the story of an extraordinary woman famous for her intellect, style, and wit, and shares the lengths to which she must go for the protection of her family and her legacy to preserve her carefully crafted white identity in the racist world in which she lives. This book has been reviewed by Kirkus and Publishers Weekly and has ongoing starred reviews from Booklist and Library Journal. And our last title for today is by 2-time Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winning author Colson Whitehead. Out September 14th, Whitehead's next title, Harlem Shuffle, is a novel of heists, shakedowns, and ripoffs set in Harlem in the 1960s. Ray Carney was only slightly bent when it came to being crooked. To his customers and neighbors on 125th Street, Carney is an upstanding salesman of reasonably priced furniture, making a decent life for himself and his family. He and his wife Elizabeth are expecting their second child, and if her parents on Strivers Road don't approve of him or their cramped apartment across from the subway tracks, it's still home. Few people know he descends from a line of uptown hoods and crooks, and that his facade of normalcy has more than a few cracks in it, cracks that are getting bigger all the time. Cash is tight, especially with all those installment plan sofas. So if his cousin Freddie occasionally drops off the odd ring or necklace, Ray doesn't ask where it comes from. He knows a discreet jeweler downtown who doesn't ask questions either. Then, Freddie falls in with a crew who plan to rob the Hotel Teresa, the Waldorf of Harlem, and volunteers Ray's services as the fence. The heist doesn't go as planned. They rarely do. But now Ray has new clientele, one made up of shady cops, vicious local gangsters, and other assorted Harlem lowlifes. Thus begins the internal tussle between Ray the Striver and Ray the Crook. As Ray navigates this double life, he begins to see who actually pulls the string in Harlem. Can Ray avoid getting killed, save his cousin, and grab his share of the big score, all while maintaining his reputation as the go-to source for all your quality home furniture needs? Harlem Shuffle's story plays out in a beautifully recreated New York City of the early 1960s. It's a family saga masquerading as a crime novel, a hilarious morality play, a social novel about race and power, and ultimately a love letter to Harlem. The title has a 4.0 rating on Goodreads, ongoing starred reviews by Publishers Weekly, as well as reviews by Library Journal.
I hope you guys were able to find something to add to your to-be-read pile, but if not, don't worry. Check out our other videos in this series. If you weren't able to check out the premiere of any video, you can access them through our YouTube and Facebook pages. Thank you and see you next week.